I am Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. This is CMV. Thanks for joining me. I come to you this week on a very special episode of the program. We are on the Spanish island of Tenerife, and I can tell you we're closer to Morocco and the African continent than we are to continental Europe or Spain itself. And you can see why I'm here. It's a special car because this is the world's fastest SUV, the RS Q8. Yes, you heard me right. This is the world's fastest SUV, the Audi RS Q8. It's brand new. It just made its debut at the Los Angeles Auto Show, and well, here we are driving it already. Perfect location, great tarmac, some nice mountain roads as well. So lots that I can throw at this car. Let's see how it laps it up. So it's kind of apt that I'm right in the middle of this lava field and there's a volcano behind me. We'll get to all of that in just a bit. Is the car just as red hot as that? I mean, just that tag, is that enough? Is there enough under this hood? I have to stop talking and find out. Sample the specs, if you will, folks. The all-new RS Q8 uses the familiar 4-litre V8 TFSI bi-turbo engine with a massive 590 horses of maximum output. The torque figure is equally staggering, especially as it comes in as low as 2200 RPM. The gearbox to handle all of that torque is also the very familiar 8-speed Tiptronic, of course. And now for the figures that will truly blow your mind. Top speed for this baby is 305 kilometers per hour. Well, the top speed is electronically limited to 249 kilometers per hour, but with the optional RS dynamic package, that goes to 305. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour comes in 3.8 seconds. Have I got your attention now? It is with the Q8 family that in many ways we got the new design language, the new look of the Audi Q range, all the SUVs. It is more aggressive, it is more bold, it's more wide and in your face. Mark Lichte took charge, and yeah, this is the first car that came out in his regime, so to speak. And obviously the RS Q8 is an even more aggressive interpretation then of what you see on the Q8. And so, you know, blacked out grille, you've got the RS badge obviously, the bumper finished off with that metal finish, typical RS territory, and yet some of the signature Q8 highlights like the pronounced hood line and the signature from the DRL as well, all of that stays true even on this car. The rear lights are also LEDs naturally, and the car starts with a cool animation on the rear lights that are joined by the red LED strip that lights up when the headlamps are on. While the standard wheel size is 22 inches, you can get 23 inches too, but India will likely get just the 22s. Speaking of the fact that it is RS, you of course get the special alloy wheels, low profile tires. We'll see what happens when it comes to India. Again, you got the RS badge down there, and then the mirrors with the metal finish as well, all typical RS territory. What's also nice about the Q8 family is that it is now, you know, in that whole coupe SUV genre, and yet unlike what the competition has done, where you can very obviously see the car that they've taken and then sort of turned into the coupe, this isn't like that. It has its own identity. The car doesn't look like it's exaggeratedly coupe-like, and yet it has that nice swept back roofline. It works. It's more proportionate. It is actually shorter and a little shorter even in length than the Q7. It's a little wider though, and it does serve then as the flagship of the Q range. But I have to keep reminding myself that this is not just the Q8, it is the RS Q8. The best way to do that is to get out on the road. The roads in Tenerife truly provide an ideal test bed with a good mix of variety. Narrow, winding, good tarmac quality, and yes, high-speed expressways too. This island has it all. Tenerife is the largest of the Canary Islands with a land mass of just over 2,000 square kilometers. But mostly anywhere you go on the island, you can spot the tall and imposing Mount Teide, the volcanic peak that at 3,718 meters is Spain's highest mountain. Four-liter V8 bi-turbo TFSI with a mild hybrid system. Yes, this is a pretty advanced engine. It's also one that Audi has really worked on. It's been honed, if you will, from the SQ8 stage to becoming even more potent on the RS Q8. I mean, as soon as you get into the car, even if you're in city traffic, there's this very obvious feel that yes, this is a powerful car. You get that sense of urgency from it straight away. It's almost egging you on to, take it out on a wide open road, no traffic, higher speed limits, of course. Yes, we're keeping it legal. And that's a great feeling when the car is urging you on like that and almost wanting you to unbridle it. Yes, the RS Q8 certainly gives you that impression in the first few minutes of driving. And then you go to the drive select and you put it into dynamic. Yeah, baby, that's when those 590 horses start to sing and gallop. The RS Q8 is a beast, and yet there's nothing remotely unrefined in its character. The car sings because of the precision of its engineering that just shines through. Honestly, the Audi Q range could not ask for a better flagship. So it is very obviously more powerful than the regular Q8 as well, and that's hardly surprising. I mean, it is the RS Q8. And I was talking about this big difference in styling terms outside. Of course, when you get into the car and start driving it, you straight away pick up on the difference again. And so, hang on a second. For all of this to become really sort of obvious and for us to understand it, we kind of need to know the Q8 first, don't we? And so, yeah, it's kind of logical to get to know the Q8 first. So, while I'm sure that the Q8 will be right at home here on these lovely mountain roads in Tenerife, it's kind of this very obviously luxury lifestyle kind of vehicle, isn't it? I mean, I think it fits better with the Middle East market. I mean, it's kind of at home in a place like Dubai. So, let's do that. Let's cut across to Dubai. First introduce you to, dare I call it, the regular Q8. So quite a different setting, as you can see, and yes, it is a very different car too. I know it's the same model line, but it is drastically different driving this car from the one you were just looking at and the one I was just enjoying in Tenerife. Now, I did say Dubai lifestyle, kind of Middle East works, but you know what? I've got to get a little greedy, as I often do, and when you're here, then why spend time in the city when you have an SUV, which does, by the way, have QUATTRO. So then you bring it out here into the desert sands, because frankly that's a lot more fun. So yes, I got the chance to drive the Q8 out from the urban jungle of Dubai into the sandy countryside. The car is familiar and yet so different. For starters, this is a very different drivetrain, of course. Now, having driven the RS version for so long, yeah, everything else is going to feel dull by comparison, but that's not fair because, this is still a 3-litre V6 with 55 TFSI, which is basically the 3-litre TFSI engine, which gives you 340 horses. So yeah, there's a fair amount of power there. I did mention it's quattro. Yes, 55. That is nomenclature that I suspect very few people at Audi understand fully, and the rest will never admit that they don't understand it, but I will. I still don't get it. 55 TFSI, but let me not be harsh. The point here is that it is a 3-litre V6. It gives you 340 horses, which is not bad, and it certainly is responsive. The V6 engine is sharp. The over 2-ton weight of the car, though, is still apparent, but maybe I am spoiled by the RS, to be honest. Even the gearbox does feel quicker on the RS Q8, but again, unfair comparison. I know. This engine also pairs up with a 48-volt mild hybrid system that, besides assisting start-stop, also lets the car coast on battery power when cruising. The Q8 gets a 254mm ground clearance, and so it does sit tall. But throw in the optional air suspension and there's an extra 90mm play on the car's adjustable height depending on the drive mode and the situation. The good part of that, though, is that even though it's for the chosen few, when you look at the kind of styling embellishments and also the different lines that are available, well, the Indian customer will have all of those options, because on the Q8, Audi has kind of positioned the car as the one that you really customize, so that it's almost like each one that you sell ends up being different from the other, and that's going to be a huge play. So things like the S line and just a whole lot of trim options will all be on offer for you. Customization is always good, especially at this end of the market. Audi has brought one trim of the Q8 to India, though you can get add-ons like the S-Line package. Prices start at 1,33 lakh rupees. Standard wheels for India are the 20 inches, though 21-inch wheels can be ordered as an option. So, rimless doors at the rear, the nice glass roof, a good sense of opulence and luxury from the materials and trim. For what it's worth, the touch kind of feel to the climate control system. Yes, it is comfortable back here and it is definitely premium, even though the whole focus for this car in positioning terms will be on the driver's seat. I mean, they're going to say that, look, this is the car you buy if you want to drive yourself. If you want to sit at the back, well, you've got the Q7 for that. And as you can tell, space is definitely not a problem, despite the sloping roofline. So the car is comfortable in the back too, though, yeah, up front is where you really want to be. The dash with its flat surfaces and the 3-screen layout is a lot like the A8's, and so you get a lot of tech. The virtual cluster is the first big screen that grabs you. The central console houses all infotainment in the upper touch screen, and the lower one gets climate control. It's all intuitive and has haptic feedback, which is great. Voice commands let you focus on the road when you're driving, though, so that you don't have to really look down at the screens. The layout in the RS Q8 is similar, though the trim and materials differ. I tried out the car's off-road mode in some of the sandy stretches we drove through, and of course its dynamic mode on the highway. It does everything you want it to and is certainly premium every step of the way. Yes, enough time spent with the Q8. It is time for me to get back to having more fun again. Thank you very much. I'm continuing up the mountain, and I now am getting a much better sense of all the things that make the RS Q8 so different from the vanilla Q8, if you want to call it that. It is all very intentionally skewed towards, of course, increasing the performance of this car because it's meant to be fast, it's meant to be more agile, and it certainly is. So lots of things standard. You've got the air suspension, you've got four-wheel steering, which means the rear wheels also turn in or out, either with or against the front wheels, depending on the situation. Helps give you more maneuverability and better sense of control for sure. You've also got the QUATTRO system that works in conjunction with the steering and also the suspension, because again, that's been tuned specifically as an RS model. Yes, you can hear the engine throughout because yes, I'm staying in dynamic mode for the most part, but the car has 8 different drive modes, if you will. And so you get the standard ones that we are used to seeing, which talk about efficiency and which talk about dynamic and comfort and all of that. But instead of having an individual mode, there's an interesting new shortcut that the RS cars have. This is the first SUV to get it, and it's the RS mode button here on the steering wheel. So you've got 2 options there. There's RS1 and there's RS2. And in RS2, you can also, of course, turn off ESC, which is better when you're on a track if you want that kind of extreme performance. But in RS1, you can, of course, individualize all the other things. You can have, a comfort suspension, but you could have the dynamic engine response. The steering could be stiffer, whatever. I mean, this is basically individual. But like I said, there are 2 modes, and having the little shortcut, especially if you want to quickly overtake or you want to have a higher speed maneuver without having to, slow down or look at the screen, it's nice to have that shortcut. And if you're thinking that that reminds you of the M1 and M2 buttons from the other Bavarian, well, you're absolutely right. The RS Q8's cabin feels plush and rich. There are plenty of surfaces you can opt for, from carbon fiber to this glossy black in my test car. The same is true for exterior paint, window trim and grille finishes. And if you can believe it, the car with me is called Galaxy Blue. Yes, it looks green, or let's say peacock blue, I agree. But oh well. The drive up into the Mount Teide National Park here in Tenerife just got more and more spectacular. The variety of terrain and vegetation and temperature differences along with the elevation was the big surprise.
Wow. These lava fields spread across just miles of expanse really gives you a great little perspective on how small you are in the larger scheme of things. This landscape really tells the story of nature's true power and fury. 7 minutes, 42.253 seconds. That's the new lap record at the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring, and of course it's this car that has that record now. It's the world's fastest SUV, as I've been saying. And you know what? It's just 0.2 of a second slower, 0 to 100, than the mighty Lamborghini Urus.
Yes, the RS Q8 and the Lamborghini Urus do share a fair bit. After all, Lamborghini is an Audi subsidiary. But the cars have vastly different powertrains, and that is perhaps the big reason why their performance is different too, though both are very, very fast.
It's not just the instant response from the engine that gets your heart pumping, it's also the absolute precision from the suspension as well as the steering. I mean, the setup is just so perfect that you always know that the car is going to give you the exact response that you want from it. That's comforting. That's also very reassuring because it makes your overall dynamic driving that much safer too, and gives you a greater sense of confidence in what you're doing. Now, the downside of that is that it's the electronics, it's not really all you. But, that's the modern cars we drive these days. Now, having said that, there's one particular area where I have had a lot of fun, and I'm finding that the car is absolutely spot on. And that's the way it comes in and out of corners. I mean, the greater sense of control that you're getting on something like this, yeah, it does remind you of the other car that's based on this platform, that's the Urus. And on this one, of course, you get the QUATTRO Sport differential, which means at the rear, you can actually split the torque force between the two wheels real time. And yes, that gives you that greater sense of control, especially when you're coming out of a corner really fast, really precise.
The RS Q8 does all of this and yet leaves you feeling fresh and charged up. I spent 2 days driving this car around this island, and at no point did I want to stop, nor did I feel tired. The seat position, ergonomics, cabin comfort and ease of driving, coupled with the various driver aids, just kept me going. And that's how it should be at this end of the market. Yes, the RS Q8 comes with everything from lane keep assist to blind spot warning to traction and stability control and multiple airbags, of course, all as standard. And how can I forget the adaptive matrix LED lights? Expect the fully loaded version in India too, but the asking price will be well upwards of 2 crore rupees.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Audi RS Q8. It's a special car, and we can now confirm to you it is coming to us in India. So for the chosen few, the promise of a lot of pure performance in the SUV space. Please react to it, tell me how you like it, and always remember to wear your seatbelts no matter where you're sitting in a car, wear your helmets on a bike. I will see you next week. Hasta luego.